Hello, thanks for your time today. My name is John Bankert. I managed the MIT flight facility from 1996 to 2008. I spent 5 years in this facility behind us that is currently in imminent danger of being torn down by Massport to develop new hangars for future aircraft. And we'd like to talk to you about that today and go over some of the historical things that have happened here over the last 55 years. Draper and MIT Lincoln Lab developed a flight test facility post-World War II that was derived from a building in the state of Georgia. At the time, it was cheaper to take the building apart, relocate it, and move it to Massachusetts than buy steel based on the shortages from the war. Significant advances in technology occurred at this facility over the 55-year period. Air defense, radar, weather sensing, aviation safety, air traffic control, communications, solar advances in battery cells and alternative energy were all developed and worked on in this facility. And that's what we'd like to talk to you about. It's worthy of note that buildings, particularly right to our rear here, the 4 wooden structures which were known as the solar huts, were largely responsible for the development of battery technology led through solar research back in the late 70s, early 80s. You'll note that the pitch of the roof is different on each facility. The researchers were taking a look at the performance of the battery cells in lieu of the angle to the sun, and that's why they look as they do. A 1986 mid-air crash involving a DC-9 jet airliner and a small Piper airplane crashed over Cerritos, California, resulting in 76 fatalities and over a dozen destroyed homes. This led to a national interest in solving airplanes from running into each other. This happened in daylight conditions that it absolutely made no sense. Lincoln Laboratory was asked to take a look at the problem, and as a result, engineers, test pilots, and mechanics came up with a workable solution that involved over 2,000 stage encounters with multiple aircraft in the New England area. This system, now known as TCAS, is now worldwide accepted and is the aviation standard for collision avoidance. It's mandatory on all commercial passenger airplanes of a significant size and cargo airplanes, and has been directly attributed to saving thousands and thousands of lives since its implementation. One of the concerns during the demolition process is an adjacent facility that is currently owned by Draper Labs. To my rear, you'll notice an octagon-shaped building that houses a centrifuge instrument that had its origins back to the Apollo space program. At the time, it was the only 100G centrifuge facility in the country to develop equipment and components to support the Apollo program. One of the unique characteristics of the flight test facility from Draper and Lincoln Laboratories, it also supported inertial navigation. As a part of that, there are cement pylons within this building that go down to the bedrock underneath us. And it's of grave concern that the demolition of that type of structural cement, the disruption of that, could potentially damage the delicate instrument that is immediately located across the street from the MIT Draper facility. It's almost as historically significant as the Draper facility, and again, it's currently in operation. Would be a taxpayer's nightmare to have that damaged by a demolition operation, and B, I think it's relevant that the Draper centrifuge facility and MIT Draper's flight test facility remain together. They were basically couples in aviation history and space history for the last 40 years. Again, it would be a travesty to have such unique New England specific attributes to aviation history disappear as a result of the need for new T-hangars at this airport. The building is, on the interior, in a sense, a visual state of disrepair only through the actions of no heat, no light, and according to the Massport manager, at times the doors were left open. So yes, it does need some janitorial services provided. The ceiling tiles would need to be replaced, the floor tiles would need to be either cleaned or replaced, but the cosmetics alone, I would anticipate, you're probably looking at a cost of in the neighborhood of $1 million to $1.5 million to thoroughly clean this up and make it adequate for a museum. By Massport's own admission, it would cost less to clean this building up, bring it up to code, than it would be to knock it completely down and build a brand new structure. And one has to ask, why would you spend more money to destroy a historical building that has had so many advances done through it over the years, is so attached to the culture of New England that abuts the National Historic Park, than to build a brand new T-hangar for future aircraft?
Many people are aware that many things that we have in our lives today that we take for granted descended or came from the aerospace industry. Things like radar, things like the personal computer, the integrated circuit, the transistor. But one thing a lot of people aren't aware of is that photovoltaic electric power generation is also a derivative of the aerospace industry. In response to the oil crisis of 1973, President Jimmy Carter, gave a directive that the Department of Energy investigate taking some of the technologies that we knew about from the aerospace industry and applying them to solve the energy problem that the world faced. Many of those different technologies were researched at Lincoln Laboratories, for example, flywheels energy storage, fuel cells, and photovoltaic electric power. But taken together, the research that was done in these buildings and at other test laboratories at Lincoln Laboratories, substantial inroads were made into the possible deployment of photovoltaic power, and actually gave rise to a number of small industries. There was many different test programs that were generated as an offshoot of that. And the result is today we have an entire photovoltaic power industry. And a lot of thanks are due to some of the U.S. government laboratories like MIT Lincoln Laboratory and the experiments that were done at Hangar 24. There was many different technologies that spun out of the aerospace industry, and particularly came out of the area of Lincoln Laboratory. For example, the spin-off of Digital Equipment Corporation and the mini computer, which was essentially descended from satellite control and missile control guidance systems. But in addition, we see the photovoltaic power industry, navigation systems, air traffic control, human-powered flight, and the promise that that leads to ultra-efficient aircraft. There's so many different technologies that are benefiting today or will benefit the people of the future that have come out of this facility. It's important to reflect back to the charter of Massport, the owner of Hangar 24. And the charter is very clear that Massport is a state agency of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and its whole purpose is to operate in the best interest of the people of Massachusetts. Not in the interest of aviation interests or anybody else, but in the interest of the people of Massachusetts. And in that light, we believe that that the people of Massachusetts should have a say in what they think their interest is. And we believe that the people, certainly of these communities, would come down on the side of using this facility for educational purposes and not for additional aviation use. Hangar 24 and the events that took place there are an important part of our history. And certainly there's a tremendous opportunity to preserve that history in conversion of that site into a museum, commemorating the events that took place in these areas, the people who were involved in those events, and the technologies that have benefited us today and will benefit our children tomorrow. The question remains, will Hangar 24 be demolished and turned into some future aircraft repair area or other use? Or will we have the vision to take Hangar 24 and commemorate the technology innovations that happened there and convert it to a museum? Will we be able to pull together the FAA, our community representatives, Massport, and the local towns to get together and do something really creative and constructive with this site?
For additional information, call or email Save Our Heritage at 978-369-6662 or KATI@saveourheritage.com.